There's something about Whitechapel. Not much, but something.
I'll get you, Robocop!
I'll get you, Robocop! Which is what we always used to say. I'll get you, Robocop!
Britain, an ancient kingdom with legends of violence, cruelty, and torment in its blood. Join your hosts, Ross, John, and James, as they bravely tread where few would dare. Witness their journey into the horrific history of British horror. They are the General Witchfinders.
So, ladies and gentlemen, goblins and ghouls, welcome back to the 55th episode of the General Witchfinders podcast. I'm James in Bournemouth in southern England.
I'm John Pountney. I'm still here in the south of Wales, which is still, when I regularly look and investigate, it's still in the south of Wales.
Are you sure it's not North America now or something? North America.
It's been purchased by Trump.
There's probably enough coal here for him still to be interested, I would have thought.
Dig, baby, dig.
I think there's still 300 years worth of coal in some coal mines. I think that's a fact I heard.
Whoa.
Which is pretty wild, isn't it?
Mm. And I'm Ross in Dorchester in southern England, and this time we were captured by the hands of the Ripper.
Between the 2nd of April 1888 and September the 17th, 1889, a dreadful fear descended over the streets of London. No one who saw that face lived, except one small child whom he spared, because she was his own flesh and blood.
There was another murder. They're looking for Jack the Ripper. It's you.
The records tell us that the Ripper killed 9 times.
Mrs. Golding?
Now Hammer reveal how the curse lived on into a second generation of terror.
Whoever impaled that unfortunate woman on this poker possessed immense physical strength. Anna is upstairs at this moment. She's what?
Oh, Miss Anna, you're going to look lovely tonight.
Damn it, Pritchard, you've got to possess being in your home, as savage as any wild beast.
There's a violence in this girl. I felt it there. Something quite sudden. It's still there now. Something horribly violent.
These are the streets. And these are the women. And this is the girl who inherited the hands that Jack used.
After last episode's hard left turn visit to the Lyndhurstverse, that's the Lyndhurstverse, we return to more familiar territory with Hammer's Hands of the Ripper, a 1971 British horror film, released as the second half of a double feature with Twins of Evil. Directed by Peter Sasdy, produced by Aida Young, and written by L.W. Davidson, from story by Edward Spencer Shew. That's spelled S-H-E-W, by the way, not S-H-O-E. Just in case anyone my odd pronunciation. Making good use of the large Baker Street set at Pinewood Studios, left over from the private life of Sherlock Holmes, released the previous year. The production was denied permission to film its final scenes at St. Paul's Cathedral, so a replica was constructed instead.
God!
I don't know if you could tell that wasn't really the
Whispering Gallery.
I thought aspects of it were. I thought the floor at the end looked very legit.
Yeah, well, it wasn't.
Well, there we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it says, if the Pritchard's home and staircase look familiar, it's because Hammer's ever-resourceful set designers reused elements from the set of The Curse of Frankenstein from years earlier.
That's literally wrote that down. I can prove it. I can prove it. Where is it? Same stairs as Curse.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
eagle-eyed, spotter's
Where,
badge and all of that.
Professor Chechnikov or whatever he's called is pushed.
Over, amazingly.
A little bit further, Professor. A little bit
So,
further. Oh, Professor.
you're gonna good look at this painting, right? So, and it says see episode 2. The nascent episode 2
Wow.
of our
How
podcast.
many years?
Only 3.
No, we've been doing this for way longer than
I
that.
don't know.
Oh man,
I reckon it's 5 years, isn't it?
Well, we do
At
roughly 10 or 11 a year, so it must be maybe 4. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see episode 2 of our podcast for more discussion on that classic. Then director Peter Sasdy, who cited Hands of the Ripper as his favourite film, also directed the original Adrian Mole TV series, which oddly enough, in a Jungian
synchronicity.
Thank you, Ross. That's the word. In a Jungian synchronicity way, I was thinking about the Adrian Mole TV series last night and thinking how strange it was that I can always remember that Adrian Mole was played by Gian Samarco.
Yep.
Yes.
And why do I remember his name? Why is
what
that?
did he go on?
He was in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. John.
Yes,
He was.
Yeah.
So
I'm reading Secret Diary to Rowan at the moment, but I have to keep skipping it when he measures his penis. Or talks about getting Big and Bouncy magazine.
Oh, Lord.
Both The Secret Diary and Growing Pains, 3 episodes of Hammer House of Mystery and Suspense, 3 episodes of Hammer House of Horror, and 2 other Hammer features, Countess Dracula and Taste the Blood of Dracula. The second of which is coming to the podcast later this year.
Can I just ask, John, because I'm probably going to lose all my cred here, but I didn't realise. I knew about Hammer House of Horror, but what was Hammer House of Mystery and Suspense?
It's not as good. It was a follow-up to the Hammer House of Horror TV series. So Hammer, after they went shit at films, tried to do some TV, and they brought in some really big names. And Hammer House of Mystery and Suspense was repeated recently on Talking Pictures, and it's not very good. Hammer House of Horror is brilliant.
And we're definitely going to do some episodes of that.
Yes. Mystery and Suspense is not very good and didn't hold my attention, even with star guests in it. All the star guests are American. So you have the guy who was the face in the A-Team, I think he's in one.
Dirk Benedict.
Yeah.
And then the guy who was in the small man who was in Quantum Leap. Sam. Is it Sam?
No.
Or is he called Sam?
Dean Stockwell. Dean Stockwell. He was in.
Dean Stockwell.
He was also in. He's in Blue. He's in David Lynch's Blue Velvet.
Yes,
and Paris, Texas.
one.
And Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
Remake.
Yeah, David McCallum is in one. They're not very good. They're like feature length, which is too long, and it doesn't really. Christopher Cazenove is in one, and I think he's always in a silk dressing gown. It's quite weird.
I think if you 80% of our podcast is us just saying the names of actors, isn't it?
That's what people tune in for. I'm saying.
I think so.
Perhaps. Right. So back to this. Most monumentally, he also directed the legendary BBC. Ross put sci-fi thriller. I would say BBC horror classic, The Stone Tape.
It's hard to pigeonhole, isn't it?
That's very, very true. But for this, you must definitely check out General Witchfinders episode number 5, which Ross says is our 3rd most popular episode to date.
Is that how long ago we did the Stone Tape?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it early.
Good God. In lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Wow.
All I want to say about Peter Sasdy, or any of this era of directors, if Peter Sasdy is still alive as well, which I think is incredible. Like Val Guest, who did like Confessions of a Window Cleaner and The Quatermass Experiment. Imagine now having on your CV The Stone Tape, this film, and Adrian Mole.
Adrian Mole.
We're looking for someone to do a thing about a diary of a 13-year-old boy.
In the Midlands.
In the Midlands. And we've got this guy who's directed a film about the daughter of Jack the Ripper. Yeah. Give him the job.
Get him in.
Perfect.
Get him in.
I think it was probably made by Central, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Actually.
I think it's interesting how directors didn't seem to get typecast, whereas actors did.
Yeah. Directors could just direct anything. And I don't know if that's such the case now. I'd like to be proved wrong. But I don't think there's such a variety of things on TV anymore, is there? In terms of, stuff as varied as, in the 80s and 70s. everything seems to be done to a kind of
beige standard.
Yeah, basically, yes. Yes.
So that Eric Porter stars as Dr. Pritchard, renowned for his work in film, television, and theatre. He famously played Professor Moriarty opposite Jeremy Brett's Sherlock Holmes and Soames Forsyth in the Forsyth Saga. Although much of his Wikipedia entry is dominated by debates over his sexuality, a strange focus given his accomplished career. Very, very odd for us. Strange, right?
But yes, I told you, John. Jeremy Brett would come up this evening.
Oh, go on then.
Yeah, so he was.
That was it. He was Moriarty.
Oh, just because they were pals, not because they were lovers or anything.
No. He was Moriarty.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Angharad. Am I saying
Angharad?
Oh, Angharad. There. So I've never heard that name or seen that name before.
Give over, James. You must have done.
I've never
Didn't you
seen
date
that.
someone called Angharad just once, John?
No, I didn't.
No,
me. I was about to say
John.
No. James,
Okay, right.
Pell's best friend was called Angharad.
Oh, there you are.
One of James Nee's exes is called Angharad. I could introduce you to dozens of Angharads now if you want.
You can
James.
throw
Oh,
a
there you are.
stone and hit one.
And it's okay. So my apologies to the beautiful and fantastic nation of Wales, as always. Love Wales, but I'm sorry that I've ignorant of that name. Anyway, so she plays Anna, the daughter of the Ripper. She appeared in Boone.
The Ripper,
Take a drink
the
at home
Ripper.
if you're
playing the Boone drinking game.
playing the Witchfinders drinking game. Starred as Demelza in 28 episodes of Poldark. Original version, and the year after, Hands of the Ripper featured in the star-studded film Under Milkwood alongside Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole, and Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
She was made a Fellow of the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, had a pub named after her in Pontypridd. Unfortunately closed and turned into a card shop in... Sorry, John. Sorry, Wales.
Did she really?
In Pontypridd.
Yes.
And it says here...
Where in Ponty?
I'm not sure, but
You got an address?
No, it's been turned into a card shop in 2009, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
Which is now probably
So there
also
was a
gone out
pub
of
called
business.
the Angharad Reese.
Apparently so, yeah.
I'm going to look this up now. That's insane trivia. Go on, carry on, James.
And then she also found a jewelry design company, Angharad, based in Knightsbridge. Pieces she designed were featured in Elizabeth, the Golden Age. Nice.
Oh.
Wikipedia also notes that she was once in a relationship with Alan Bates, whose name I have to say like that, which we only mentioned to plug episode 35, where he talks about Bates starring in The Shouts, which is fantastically nuts and great. And then Linda, Nurse Gladys Emanuel. That is how you must refer to her as that at all times. Baron appears as Long Liz, which is a curious choice of name, considering that Long Liz was an actual canonical Ripper victim. Here she is depicted alive and well, at least initially, years after Saucy Jack's supposed demise. But isn't she supposedly misidentified as a victim according to From Hell? James, our Alan Moore aficionado, please fill us in. No, Ross, it's Mary Kelly.
Oh, okay.
Who is misidentified. He suggests that that she's staying with somebody else, and that she goes out for she's gone out for the night, and the person that she's staying with is killed because
and she got away.
Yes,
she was the one who was seeing the policeman in the pub. Mary Kelly.
Yes,
Mary
yes,
Kelly.
yes.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because Netley, the coach driver, sees her going into the premises, but doesn't hang around long enough to see her go out. So he just goes back to Gull and says, she's at this address. Let's go and kill her,
Yeah.
Let's go and kill her.
There you go.
So that's why. So yeah, there you go. Linda Barron appeared as a returning character in both Coronation Street and EastEnders. And she played three different characters in Doctor Who across three Doctors who were.
Yes.
John, can you name the stories in Doctors? Says Ross.
One is Enlightenment with TV's Peter Davidson.
Yeah, the Fifth Doctor, correct. What year, John? What year?
I would say that's 83.
Yes, well done.
She was in one with Tennant.
No.
Wasn't she?
Not quite.
Oh.
Almost.
Is it a Matt Smith one?
Yes.
Is it the one with James Corden and the Cybermen?
Yes, well done. Closing time. What year was that?
Fucking hell, God. I'm trying to think by how ill I felt with IBS watching that. So,
what level of
hell I was in?
Yeah.
2011?
Oh, John, well done. Your bum It served you well tonight.
That was the worst year until last year.
Yeah.
And then a third Doctor.
Yes. I didn't think he was going to get the Matt Smith one, so well done.
It can only be Capaldi.
No.
John, I can see the script, and even the biggest Whovian in the universe, I would be astonished if they got this.
They're all shouting
in Doctor Who. She was in Doctor Who.
Yeah. She played the saloon singer alongside the first Doctor in the gunfighters.
The gunsling. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Come on.
I had no idea about that one.
It's a pretty wide-ranging career there, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Again, someone that wasn't typecast.
Yes. Right. So we also see Dora Bryan as Mrs. Golding, one of the two clairvoyants in the film. You may recognise her from her 50 episodes of Last of the Summer Wine, her appearance in Boone, Take a Drink, or as Helen in A Taste of Honey, which, of course, was written by John's mum's friend, Sheila Delaney, apparently.
Next door neighbour, yeah?
Yeah.
There you go. She, and that's Dora.
Of honey, tasting much sweeter than wine. Do. That's the Beatles, if you didn't know. From the Taste of Honey EP.
And that's our musical insert that we always have. We always have to have a little sing-song at some point, don't we? Right. So, and Ross says that she, and that's Dora, not Sheila, also appeared in both a Carry On film and a St. Trinian's. Lastly, here we go. Lastly, Norman Bird makes a brief appearance as the police inspector. If he looks familiar, it's because he had over 200 television and 60 film roles to his name. He was in the BBC's Look and Read series, Spy Watch, playing Mr. Jenkins, and appeared in Boone, of course, take a drink, along with 3 shows featuring exclamation points. Woof! Which is the thing where the guy turns into a dog.
Yeah.
Because I seem to remember. Wacko! Exclamation mark. And I don't know.
Wacko?
That.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's not a Michael Jackson bio.
Jackson bio.
I was going to say.
Bubbles.
And the Stephen McGann led Help! He was also in the infamous Jim Davidson, the horrible Jim Davidson. And I'll say that. He can sue me if he wants. The horrible Jim Davidson sitcom, Up the Elephant and Round the Castle.
Round the Castle.
And which is only mentioned because Ross is sure this is alongside Marina Sirtis from Star Trek The Next Generation. But IMDb says she was only in 1 episode. And I think that is the case, Ross. I
thought she was in every episode, but I don't know. Never mind. Misremembered.
I thought she was in every episode, Jim. That sounded like such a scripted line then, please.
But it's good. Professional is what I said. Anyway, back to Norman Bird. Other appearances of note include the Cheese Dream celebrity sci-fi game show, The Adventure Game.
Yes, which
I shared a brief snippet of with my 2 co-hosts. Oh, it's synchronicity and go-go this week. It's incredible.
Being killed by a pot plant.
And that brought back Galloping Galaxies to me.
It's out of your mind.
Galloping
Galaxies.
Yes, I thought it was all a very similar aesthetic in 1985 or whenever it was.
Yeah. It was all
Galaxies.
It was all sets left over from Blake 7, wasn't it? Really?
Yes.
I couldn't work out if the Adventure Game was scripted or not, because it was so weird that it was like actors and celebrities doing games, but with acted bits in it as well. It's so confusing.
And now you have to put up with boring Rosman's House of Games, smug House of Games on BBC Two.
I don't enjoy that.
My favourite game in the Adventure Game is when they had to put like a little robot, remote control car in a tunnel to go and get to get those little credits.
Yeah.
The symbols on it.
Oh, the symbols. Anyway, right, so and then it says he also appeared in the Jesus in a Shed feature film, Whistle Down the Wind, Steptoe and Son, Faulty Towers, Please Sir, and The Medusa Touch, which has been on our long list.
An exclamation mark as well.
It did. I tried to give it some. And The Medusa Touch, which has been on our long list of films to cover since day one. We're still going. He, of course, also played Mr. Braithwaite, the farmer, in the John Pertwee era of Wurzel Gummidge, and was finally the voice of Bilbo in the 1978 Ralph Bakshi animated version of The Lord of the Rings.
That man's had a career and a half.
When
I saw
him,
busy.
I doubt it.
Also, before, and Ross, you can put this out, I know we did the disclaimer last time. I'm just going to throw a quick disclaimer, if you would, or maybe even a note of apology.
I think you're right, James.
The other week, I spoke to my good friend, Joe, former colleague of mine, Joe, she no longer teaches. She now does a thing where she travels around the country and basically shows schools how to make maths more dynamic and exciting. Like sort of sells maths and does, is involved in these very technical but kind of really galvanizing maths days. And she's doing a lot of work in Birmingham at the moment with Birmingham schools. And to that end, God bless her for this, she is a longtime friend of the show. She listens to the podcast all of the time.
She's the listener.
She's an actual listener.
Yeah.
And when we met up, she was talking about it. She said, it's been really good recently because I've been driving up to Birmingham and back a lot. I'm all caught up on the podcast. That's what I say, which is thank you and sorry at the same time. And she said, I've got to say, James, you've got a really obvious verbal tick. And I said, what is it? And she said, the amount of times that you say in any way, shape or form.
Oh, I like it.
Well, there you are. And I said, do I? Because I'm always really conscious of it. And especially if I listen to other podcasts and things like that, if people use the same phraseology or kind of verbal tics, I always think, try not to do that. And I hadn't even realized that I do this one. So I'm just putting this out there. I would like to apologize to our listener. If you have got annoyed at me saying any way, shape or form too much, I am now consciously...
if you get annoyed in any way, shape or form.
Yes. I want to know if I've got any now. Dear listener, have I got any verbal tics?
Maybe talking about the cat people, Curse of the Cat People. That comes up in nearly every episode.
Well, that's basically what most horror films are ripped off from.
I say, for me, a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Before we start, Cleaver... Are you going to edit in two great songs that are about Jack the Ripper? One is by Screaming Lord Sutch, Jack the Ripper, and one is by Morrissey. The live version is better. I think you should involve those somehow.
Yeah, well, now you mentioned them, you can't mention a song on this podcast without me putting in
an
extended long play.
Oh, no, not the extended. Not extended.
No, we don't want the... just a 10-second version. And we don't want the entire trailer of this film.
I'm listening to a podcast about the Police Academy movies at the moment. And
As we can tell from your new poster you've got up in your kitchen.
Yeah. And they play the whole trailers for Police Academy and they make no fucking sense at all.
Well, exactly. This is what we're saying, man. Anyway, right, let's get going. Right. So this I found was quite a... I often say this about the things that do. It's almost like a bit of a curate's egg.
Yes.
In that I felt there was there's some really interesting ideas here, but as usual in the Hammer style, they weren't really thought through, or they were just a bit sort of half-assed.
Yes.
But
it's a relentlessly miserable film, isn't it?
It is pretty much.
But we start with a pre-credits bit in this, which is quite unusual for a Hammer film, isn't it?
The one I watched, Cleves, had a link to the Smiths because I've already missed Morrissey. I don't miss Morrissey. I've already mentioned Morrissey. And that's that it's a J. Arthur Rank distributed picture, which is the name, and that's who the Smiths Life album was named after, as in J. Arthur Rank. It's called Rank.
I can remember being something on the television, which is a big deal about them changing the muscle man who was banging the gong.
yes, Ross, I remember them doing that as well.
Really?
Yeah. So how long
in the 80s?
It must have been. When did the
late
operation
80s
go? When did it end?
I would have said in the 80s.
Yeah.
Easily, because they took over a lot of clubs and pubs and things, didn't they? And then I think that's where they kind of ended up.
Okay, the Rank Film Distributors. It diversified into the manufacture of radios, TVs, and photocopiers as one of the owners of Rank Xerox. The company name lasted until February 1996.
Really? I would have said that went early.
Yeah.
Well, there you are, you see. When the name and some of the remaining assets were absorbed into the newly structured Rank Group PLC. The company itself became a wholly owned subsidiary of Xerox and renamed XRO Limited in 1997.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yes.
But whenever you hear of any kind of like British, oh yeah, we're going to start making like phones or factory, even like, yeah, that's not going to last very long. It's
you're just
like when Alan
up.
Sugar made those things for desks that were basically
I remember
mobile
those.
phones that weren't mobile.
Yeah,
and then you could email from it. And it's like we've just got mobile phones.
I think I sent
now,
you
Alan.
emails on that machine.
More than likely, yes, round your neck
Before
in a big gold
I
chain.
think I've talked about this before, but there was one time John was meant to be coming down to Cornwall to go on holiday with us. But sat-navs didn't exist at this point. But my girlfriend's dad had a CD-ROM,
yes,
which had like maps of the UK.
Yeah.
So I got all the instructions of how to drive from Yorkshire to St Ives, printed it out, and then faxed it to you, John, in like a massive, long, step-by-step.
Yes, this was in 1998. I got as far as Leamington Spa. The alternator on my Mini went kaput, and the battery in my boot of my Mini, because in Minis the battery was in the boot. The battery exploded, and I had whistling ears for like 2 days, and then I just went home again because I was like, I can't drive to Cornwall with an exploded Mini. Oh dear, those are the days. 1998.
Oh, and speaking of which, just some final rank thoughts here for us. It says that in via Wikipedia, our good friends at Wikipedia, at the Cannes Film Festival in 1980, Ed Chilton of Rank announced a £12 million slate of projects. However, by June, they withdrew from production once again. The decision was made to plunge on in, and it was then pulled back, said Williams. The Rank films that had been announced for production, which were including an adaptation of HMS Ulysses, The Rocking Horse winner, no further details on that one, and, gents, a film version of To the Manor Born were cancelled.
Oh,
it now takes too long. Oh, wow. Who would they have gone on holiday, do you reckon?
Yes. To the Manor
Born abroad.
Like written in like a kind of handwriting font.
Yeah.
Penelope Keith being outraged by Spaniards.
Would there be
a
Spanish sort of double of Big Peter Bowles, which would there'd be mistaken for?
Well, there you are. We've written it for him. Should they ever want to go back into
We'll
it?
go back in time and write it. And
so there you go. Right. Okay. So that's right. So so we start off pre-credit sequence, where it's absolute classic Victoriana and delightful to see. Not only the Ripper, like running away in hot pursuit, just like in the Nicholas.
I was going to say,
in Good Night,
he didn't
Sweetheart.
duck into like an alleyway and disappear.
It literally
into the 90s.
straight on from Good Night, Sweetheart, doesn't it? It was just really weird. It made
which was weird.
It made me laugh out loud, actually.
But the only real difference, and it was such a lovely horror film trope. The pursuing mob all had flaming torches. Where did they all get time to get flaming torches from?
Did they get a load of flaming torches again?
Yes. That's in my notes. That's in my notes. They've reformed the flaming torches ban.
The East End of London. That's the place to go if you want flaming torches.
Only ever used for chasing.
Well, of course, monsters, murderers, killers.
So the Ripper sprints away into quite a fair distance, but bearing in mind what we're told later on, where the Ripper's residence is, quite a distance from Whitechapel. To be fair, it would be a good half-hour run, even for a healthy athlete. Through the smog.
Just let him go, fellas. He's run too far.
Through horse shit and mud.
And as a result, he then ducks into his home, and we see his domestic situation.
Yes.
His wife is nursing a small child.
Yes.
She figures out that he is the Ripper due to his bloodstained clothes.
A very small amount of blood on him.
Yeah.
Considering this is probably the last Ripper murder, which would have been. And I've seen a reenactment of that at the.
Is that going to be in every episode now, please?
in the serial killer exhibition, there would have been a lot of blood.
Up to 9 pints, I would have thought, Glenn.
Yes.
At this point, I question why he's got a badly burned face.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't exist.
Yes. So that's
all the hands.
Because it looks like he's just got eczema to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and later on, when she becomes leaping ahead a little bit, when the daughter of the Ripper becomes possessed by the Ripper, she seems to get eczema on her hands.
The titular hands of the Ripper.
It's like burns, yes. But it's just like PVA glue, isn't it? So it's like PVA glue put on someone's face, and then like I know this because I've done it myself, and then like done with a hairdryer. I was trying to at this point work out when this film is set.
Yes, same.
So this scene obviously happens in 1888 because that's when the Ripper murders happened. So at one point she's described as 17. Which would mean it's 1903.
Yes.
But they talk about Queen Victoria. Who's been dead for 2 years.
I was really perplexed by it all.
So it's quite hard to historically kind of pin this down, isn't it, really? It just looks Victorian, let's just say. It's not.
Something I quite liked was the way, and I was thinking, if I ever made a film, I'd probably rip this off, where they had the titles where everything paused when the titles came up.
Yes.
And that was a really lovely 70s effect in it.
They do that quite often with early 70s Hammer. They do that with the Vampire Lovers as well, which I think is a like a stagecoach kind of. This I'm mimicking what a stagecoach is like. With the what do you call them? The reins of the horse, and I think there's a series of pauses there with garish pink writing over the top. This one's yellow and red, isn't it? The Hands of the Ripper is a red kind of typeface, which is quite nice.
Talking about like sort of cliches of our podcast, we do normally talk about the titles for like the first, for 20 minutes and then just rush through the rest of the film.
There's a lot of Dutch angles as well in the first kind of pre-title sequence, which is, if people don't know, is like an angled shot. So if you think of like the 60s Batman serial, that's like a Dutch angle. I don't know why that then doesn't really continue throughout the film, because I thought it was quite cool at that point. It's like the Ripper's kind of signature effect, isn't it? Like a Dutch angle.
So the Ripper kills his wife, and then leaves his child in the room with the corpse of its mother staring at the child.
Yes.
And what then follows is a very weird and semi-confusing sequence, which did take me a couple of minutes
to
figure out.
Which is the entire film.
Yes. But in short, we jump forwards, as John has just said.
We either jump forwards in time or she ages very quickly.
Yeah, well, one thing or the other.
At least now we're talking about. Yes.
So jump forward in time to see that she is now working for they're all fraudulent. So she's working for a fraudulent medium, but kind of doing doing that classic mediumship thing of she is hiding in the room where the spirits are being spoken to, and she's hiding behind a curtain and
giving voice to a doll on the table, which wasn't
very
particularly
weird.
clear on
that. That's why I was like, what's going on?
Oh, I didn't get that part at all, actually.
And I thought that was quite cool, because that's one of the sort of things which a medium would have done in that time. Where,
I thought that this harks back very clearly to Night of the Demon that we have done back in episode whatever. You can drop in the episode number here now if you want, please.
Okay.
And then also The Treasure of Abbot Thomas as well has got sequences like this, hasn't it? Where there's kind of spooky voices.
I just want to say, I'd say for us, I love a good seance. Sequence or seance proved to be fake. I'm always on board when we get that.
I just want to say about the title sequence, I was surprised by how romantic the theme music was.
The music fucking did my head in. All the way. I thought the film was really good. The music is so bad, it spoiled it for me. But then when I looked at it, the guy who did the music ended up winning a BAFTA for doing the music for the Edith Piaf biopic.
Oh, no way.
Vienna Rose?
Le Vion Rose.
Le Vion Rose.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I just thought it was very atypical for Hammer. And that it was a bit too kind of saccharine.
This era of Hammer, the booby era of Hammer, I think. This is particular. No, it
I'm
is.
going to ban you from
please,
saying boobies.
we are going to ban you.
But what I'm saying, this is the point. This is the time where they thought they had to put boobs in it, isn't it?
Just say breasts.
Just breasts.
Tits.
No. Just say breasts, please.
Breasts.
Just breasts, because that's all they are. They're not boobies.
That's all they are.
Well, there's. I'd be interested, John, if you there's a bit coming up in later on in the film, and my notes just says, "Please, Ross, don't talk about this." So we'll see. We'll see if you had similar when we get there.
Yeah. I know it's what it is.
I know.
I've written hair on Pritchard. I can't remember who Pritchard is. Who is Pritchard?
He's the doctor.
Oh, did I mean him then?
I think you were talking about the inspector.
The other boy. No, I'm talking about the boy who's his son. Who's got
that'd be Pritchard Jr., wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's 2-2. Nice. So it's like a Darth Vader helmet of hair, isn't it? Massive. And what I've written is that he's one of the special hammer men that in the 70s, and well, maybe a bit like the Gorgon that we did recently, the lead kind of suave, strapping young man of the film is actually quite a weird, weedy looking man.
He is.
Who's not let's say conventionally handsome,
and doesn't actually, who you would think would be the hero, but doesn't actually do anything.
He doesn't do anything in this film at all.
He's out of the film for a very long time.
Yes,
doesn't he? He's out for ages, and then just comes back at the end to provide, the dramatic impetus. But also, and with him, I know as I was watching it, I thought, well, he looks oddly familiar.
Well,
I'm sure everyone. I thought so. I thought, let me see what else he's done. And he's one of these people. He did lots of single episodes of things all the way through like the 1970s up to the early 80s, including a thing with the band Madness.
Was he in Boone?
He was not in Boone. Okay. Ross, he'd stopped working by then.
No way.
He's still alive, but then it's just like stop. I think like the last thing he did was an episode of Minder.
Oh. Well, Minder's something else always fucking comes up, isn't it?
Well, I was about to say, maybe he's just like, I've reached the apex. There's nowhere else.
So if he's listening, I think you are quite a handsome guy, but not conventionally handsome. That's what I want to say, basically, isn't it? But your hair in this film was disgusting. It was really, he looked like Dark Helmet in Spaceballs. It was very
surrounded
strange.
by assholes.
he also reminded me of somebody I went to primary school with, a guy called Matthew Joy.
With the same hair, James?
Yes, very similar. Very, very similar. His face, everything. Very, very similar.
The clairvoyant is doing a fake seance.
Yes.
And the daughter of the Ripper, Anna, the name Anna?
Yes, that's
Anna
the name.
is doing the voice of the spirits, but then something happens and she sort of semi goes into a bit of a trance or gets a bit, starts crying and it sort of spoils the seance, and they all go home.
The doctor figures out that it's a rum do, as it were.
Yeah.
That when they go and stand out in the hallway, he notices her very small foot kind of sticking out from behind the curtain, and purposefully steps on it and makes her go sort of cry out in pain. He's like, see, like I know I can see what was going on here.
It's like
this
Houdini
isn't fair play.
Disrupting mediumship.
Yes, very, very much so. And then he leaves with his son, but leaving behind the other guest at the reading, seance. The seance. Thank you. That's the technical word. Thanks, Ross. At the seance, he goes upstairs.
Yes.
With the young girl, and we find out that there's there's a lot of dodginess afoot.
She's paying the clairvoyant, to take the virginity of the 17-year-old young girl.
It's very sinister, and I'd forgotten how creepy and horrible this scene is, and it's really distasteful.
It is hugely
very
so.
Hammer's idea of Victorian London, which I don't think is far off the truth, to be honest.
No.
And we'll see more of this in Taste the Blood of Dracula, which is also directed by the same person.
In fact, like this, in the 70s, they was obsessed with prostitutes and taking people's virginities. That was the most sexy thing that could possibly happen. Whereas
they were, it's mainly men of a certain age.
Yeah.
writing
kind of fan fiction, isn't it? Really,
of course, Ross. This is also that time. You must have watched. There was that terrific 2-part thing on Channel 4 that was all about the rise of sex films in the 1970s in Britain.
Right. No.
And sort of the comedy sex films. They spoke to the great Robert Asquith
and
people like that, and Confessions of a Window Cleaner, and then them saying that they would often make 2 versions, not of things like Confessions of a Window Cleaner, but the sexier films, as it were, they're kind of more titillation aspect films. There'd be a version for Great Britain, and then a full-on porn version
for
distribution in Europe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was not because of the content, I must point out, but just honestly a very educational. It was like, well, I had no idea. Idea, and as you say, it was a big deal.
Yeah, but it just felt like they, this is someone who came across a certain amount of 70s porn when they was in their teen,
formative years.
Yeah, it just felt like they were just obsessed with the fact that Victorian times had loads of prostitutes, and it was just really exciting, and obsessed with like, wouldn't it be great to take someone's virginity? But in the reality of it, who's getting anything out of that?
Yeah, we're not going to put this bit in, please. I think that this film treads into it a bit like dog shit, but doesn't go too far in that it's the permissive society. And I think what we see now is the permissive society in the end of the 60s and the 70s just went too far. And it was shit for most people, and it ended up with people like Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
All that kind of
stuff.
Or
the reality of it. Yeah, I just felt like they would just had such a weird idea of what it actually is.
Yeah, but this
weird.
film is part of the reality of that, because the main actress you've got in it has a nude scene for no reason where she's in the bath, and you're like, there's no reason for that, and none of the male stars have to do any of that, do they? It's not like Eric Porter's there in his underpants.
But it was also very weirdly done, in as much as like, oh, he's fine because he's your adopted father, so you can. And it was just, again, I just found it really creepy. Like,
well, I think that's what I've written. I think it's because he's a doctor, and it's like, oh, he's a doctor, But I think it's just So where are we? Because we've jumped ahead quite far now, haven't we?
Okay, So the man who, and we will learn who he is in a bit, goes upstairs to have sex with the medium's young aide, who is the daughter of the Ripper. But whilst he's kind of stood silhouetted against her window, the doctor is outside, having put his son in the back of a carriage to send him off on his stag night.
Yeah.
His handsome cab. And then while he's waiting for another carriage to arrive, he sees the silhouette, he figures out what's going on, and decides that he's not going to put up for this, and goes in to intervene. But then while that's happening, the daughter of the Ripper becomes hypnotized.
Well, so it's the first, because she's presented with like a jewel. So it seems that when she sees flickering light, because I think that, so the reflection on the jewel, and when she's kissed upon the cheek, these are the things which trigger her possession by the saucy Jack.
Yes,
but you would think that doesn't happen that often to someone, doesn't it?
Every 10 minutes.
Yeah. So how does she? What she actually does is kill the clairvoyant. She stabs her with a poker and right through a solid oak door.
All of this film is surprisingly gory kind of reveals of the murders.
Yes,
it had quite a lot of
really
stuff cut
scary.
out.
Did it?
Really?
Yeah. A lot of
and am I right in thinking she only kills women in the film?
That's a good point. Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah.
If that's true, I don't know what that says. Whether that's a really clever thing on the part of the writer, because it's,
that's what
Jack
the
Ripper
actually
only killed
did.
women, supposedly. I was just like, I'm sure she's only killed women.
She's also responsible for the death of the Doctor at the end, isn't she?
Yes, she does stab him.
She has that. She's in the most bizarre way possible.
With a sword.
More on that soon.
Well, he would have died, but there we are. We'll get there eventually. So he runs in. He finds Dora Bryan is stuck to a door with a poker. Has he seen the other man run out at that point?
He has seen him, but then when the next thing we see is they're taken in by the police, and and the Doctor hides the fact that he knows the identity of the
this dodgy man.
Yeah.
I thought this bit was quite weird because it looks like they're in a prison. It looks like they're already in prison, but they've gone in to be interviewed by a police officer in what looks like a prison. It was just a quite confusing kind of sequence, wasn't it?
Well, it's so that they can go into a room full of sex workers,
prostitutes.
Yes.
And who are
make
like,
their way through.
All right, dearie, do you want to
right,
darling?
Yeah. I don't know why they would be soliciting in the prison, because it's not like they can do anything at that point. But they're just compelled to do it. They can't help but see a gentleman.
Yeah,
and offer their services.
And all of which were delivered in the classic Streetwalker way, and you can play along with this at home should you wish, which is, so if you want to do like I'm a Little Teapot, short and stout, so they all kind of place their one hand on their hip and then kind of stand at a jaunty angle and go, are you looking for some trade, darling? Things like that, don't they?
And maybe wink, maybe a saucy wink.
Yeah, broad wink as well, yeah. So yes, we then learn that the mysterious man, he is a dodgy MP. My notes say, well, look, nothing's changed.
Group, given
well, possibly. But what I've said is that this immediately gave me the first name that sprung to my head, or the first two names that sprang to my head. Here's one for the 90s heads out there. First of all, David Mellor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chelsea Kit, Antonio de Sancha. And do you remember that guy, Stephen Mellor? Yes. And he was the guy that was found in lady stockings with an orange in his mouth. He did an auto asphyxiate. That was the first time that I think my generation learnt of auto asphyxiation going wrong. Before, like, Michael Hutchins kind of stole the limelight on that.
And Grasshopper out of Kung Fu.
Yes.
I've forgotten his name.
David Carradine.
Darren Carradine, yeah.
Right, so once again, well, wouldn't you know it, dodgy MP. And then the other thing that's quite amazing is that they've just got the murder weapon. Mm-hmm. It's like how things have changed. It's like, look, that's evidence. Yeah. They're just flailing it about.
Well, back in those days, the only way you can catch someone is if someone actually saw it happen.
See you do it. Yeah. I put no wonder that they couldn't catch a cold back then. Yeah. You know, unbelievable. Yeah. So that kind of gives us the setup. And we learn it later on, but in short, the Doctor doesn't want to name the MP, saying, "Oh, I knew you were there," because he wants to keep an eye on him. Because his initial thoughts are that, you know, he may have done the murder, and that, you know, the mystery is underway.
Dr. Pritchard agrees to take on a guardianship of the young Anne and takes Anna and takes her back to his home in a very creepy manner.
Yes, and it also looks exactly like the street that she's come from.
Yeah.
Where Dora Bryan lived, even though now she's like, oh, it's so lovely, it's so beautiful, and it's like, it looks exactly like, and the music's all like, yeah. Yes.
And so in my notes is that basically, in short, it's turned into My Fair Lady / Pygmalion, but with blood.
100%.
Pygmalion that dripped blood. Yeah.
Pygmalion.
Yeah. So that's the vibe that's going to be happening here. He's going to take her in from her life of prostitution and because the dodgy thing is, of course, the Doctor's wife has died recently.
That's what I didn't quite get. So they take her into a room and he's like, oh, this is your room now. And I was thinking, does he do this kind of thing particularly often? But then he says, oh, my wife has died. And, you know, and then it's like, oh, find maybe one of my wife's dresses.
Maybe the last person who came in there was playing the hurdy-gurdy. And, and
then it just basically makes me think of Vertigo, where it's Jimmy Stewart's character is trying to redress.
Yeah, which he gets to wear her clothes and everything, doesn't he?
Well, yeah. It's really weird. Is it explicitly weird that we're meant to think it's weird at that point? It's quite strange, isn't it?
Meanwhile, our hideously haircutted younger Pritchard has gone to the train station to pick up
Waterloo,
pick up his blind fiancée.
Although I didn't figure out she was blind to start off with at all. Did you guys miss out? It's only when she turned up at the house I was like, oh, she's supposed to be blind.
I worked out straight away.
And again,
well done.
Loads of like detail and added character traits which are not needed. You know, these characters, we don't really need these characters in it at all, really, do we? And it's one of those things you feel like, oh, well, if this was an adaptation from a book, they've got to be in it because those characters are in the book. But no, they just added characters.
I mean, it's only an hour and 20 minutes, this film, so I think that it needed more characters just for a bit of padding, because otherwise it is A to B to C to D, isn't it? It's quite a linear, not very exciting narrative otherwise, where it's a lot of set pieces where she sees the sparkly thing and then she stabs someone.
Yeah.
And the film is better than that, but I think that's what ultimately it boils down.
Did she kill next then? And how does that happen?
I'll tell you. I've got it on the notes, but I also, my other note that I really, really wanted to share with you, and Ross will back this up 100%, was that I said that what happens is, in the space of a scene, there's suddenly like 100% more women in the house.
Yes, yeah.
They've gone from having no women in the house to suddenly there's loads of women in the house. Yeah. And I said that
at least two female staff.
Yeah, they've doubled the amount of women in the house. And I said, this was our teenage Friday night dream, Ross. Just to try and double up the amount of women in our house.
Well, you can't double none to none times two means nothing.
Yeah.
Unless your nan counts.
No, absolutely not. Right. Okay. And then what we kind of learn, and this is going to non-stupid points now, is that my note that I made, I said, knowing nothing about this film whatsoever, is I thought, this really reminds me of something that I read when I was at university and really, really enjoyed, which was a book by Caleb Carr called The Alienist. Which I then learned when I was like, what's the deal with The Alienist? I was like, they then turned it into a TV show that had Luke Evans in it.
Oh, no way.
Yes. Yeah. I think it might have been on Apple, I'm going to say.
It's very tall man.
Yes. And what and the pitch of the story is there is a serial killer loose in late 1800s New York, and they...
Cleaver's taking notice now.
And they get the help of the famed early psychologist William James to help figure out, like, why is he doing all of this and to capture him. And I thought, this whole we'll use psychiatry to catch a killer.
Yeah.
That's been done before. And then I was like, actually, I'm sure they then did something very similar with, like, Freud. I'm sure and yes, I was absolutely right. In the 2005, 2006 time, there was a book called The Interpretation of Murder, right, by a guy called Jed Rudenfeld, where once again, this time it's actually Freud and Young on their famous tour where they went around America, and they get roped into helping to have to find a
coming off the back of doing Bill and Ted's history report in San Dimas.
That's right. Yes, 100% that. But I thought, that's really interesting. And so there you are, for our actual listener who may listen to this for some form of horror content. I thought, that's interesting that maybe this idea has been floating out in the ether for a little while. The whole we'll use psychiatry or nascent psychiatry to try and uncover a serial killer.
Yes.
There is a scene now where the MP guy comes to try and blackmail him, isn't there?
Yes.
And then that doesn't work, and he ends up blackmailing the MP guy and saying, well, if you don't let me study Anna, I will remember that you were the person that I saw coming out the house. Even I think at this point, Eric Porter doesn't believe that the MP man is the murderer at all, does he?
No, I think he's pretty sure Anna did it.
Which is really weird that he just thinks,
he's harbouring this killer, and he thinks, maybe I do a little bit of experimentation on her and maybe watch her have a bath.
Yeah, rich and famous because I've worked out why murderers do murders.
And it also, for me, it's like, because you're filming on, a few numbers of sets, it does feel a little bit like a play where it's like, well, this person then leaves through like this sort of secret exit, which someone else leaves through that secret exit later on and stuff. It just
it's like patio doors, isn't it? That weren't locked, which is a bit careless. So basically, we then have the sequence where she is ensconced in the house, and is this when this stag do is happening?
Yes,
they're getting ready.
Yes,
she wants to come. She's meant to be getting ready to come to a dinner, isn't she?
Dinner dance.
So Eric Porter's already at the dinner dance, and the son and daughter are there. She is being dolled up by the maid.
Dolly the maid.
Dolly the maid is dolling her up. And that's when she sees the twinkling not very nice coloured gemstone.
No.
It's like brown.
dreadful.
Yeah.
It's just, it does not, look out, metrosexual James coming up here. It does not go with that dress at all. Her hair doesn't look great, and it doesn't go with that, in my ongoing role to try and be one of the queer eyes for the straight guy.
Yes.
Honey, that just does not go. None of that works. You were giving it Victorian urchin realness before. Now, I don't know what you are. You don't know what you are. There you are.
But this is when we get but again, there's like a random kiss involved. It's one.
You look so beautiful.
I would not have put this kiss.
What happens?
Yeah, because you know where you can trigger her. It's by flashing a jewel or something metal in front of her and then kissing her. I would have dropped the kiss because it's
unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. The flickering lights, maybe. And what does she stab her with? Oh, she slits her throat, and then slits her throat and puts her in the bath.
She reaches back. She reaches back with a candelabra or something.
Or a bit of
broken mirror. The mirror, and then grabs a shard of the broken mirror and stabs her with that.
Yeah, and then she goes into the bath.
Yes. She very neatly stumbles back, and falls into the bath.
Yes.
So then Dr. Pritchard goes back and finds the body and
covers it all up.
And also, Dolly is quite clearly still breathing. I don't know if you saw that, guys.
I didn't notice that.
Because she's very close and near to the front of the shot. And you can see her quite clearly still breathing in the bath, but that's fine. Right, yeah, so as the guys say, he then covers it up and says, oh no, I don't know where Dolly's gone. And with that, he then has the horrible realization, it must be my new young wife /orphan /charge. But she's responsible for this, and now I'm going to use science to try and figure it out.
Is this where he handcuffs her to the bed?
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, it's not a bed, Ross. It's his consulting couch.
Yeah. Which has handcuffs attached to.
Yes. Very convenient manacles. I just put...
My notes now don't really make sense because I've written remorselessly miserable film, Web of Lies, Mrs. Bryant, and Nurse Gladys Emanuel. So for me, it's just a list of... Does she escape at some point now and then just wanders off again, miles into...
Yes, back into East London.
Okay, so at this point, Anna escapes the manacled sex bed and goes off to the East End of London. And is stumbling around, again, more sex workers.
She's in a daze, isn't she? She's been... At this point, has she been hypnotised, or is she in some kind of...
Oh, yeah, she's... Is she hypnotised by the doctor, or is she possessed?
I think he's hypnotised her. Yeah. Or she's possessed, but it's quite hard to tell what's actually happening. Really.
We should say every time she kills, her hands go a bit flaky as well, don't they?
Yes, like her old man.
Yeah.
Well, they're burnt. That's what the...
So I still don't think it's burn. I still think it's some kind of skin complaint.
What? Why would it be a skin complaint?
At what point do we see the Ripper being burnt?
Well, we don't, but...
why would he turn up burnt?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm asking. Why is he burnt? But I think he's obviously burnt at the start.
I think he's just got eczema.
The stupidest reasoning I've ever heard.
Well, it's just the same
I think he's just got eczema.
Maybe he's got some kind of killer skin disease.
Maybe he's just been burnt, Cleves. So anyway... she bumps into Nurse Gladys Emanuel, who is a sex worker who kind of takes her in out of kindliness, but I don't think you're meant to think it's
she's going to pimp her out.
She's going to pimp her out.
Yeah.
But then Olga kicks off again. She gets a load of hat pins and stabs them through her hand into her eye.
Brilliant. That was a really good kill. I like that one.
It's very, very gory, I think.
And realistic, but it looked like it went for the hand.
I think this is probably the goriest Hammer film.
Yeah. So we watched so far, at least. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Because there's 3 or 4 startling pieces of slit throat, stabbed in eye kind of stuff, isn't there? Which Hammer wasn't really known for, especially in 1971.
Yeah.
It wasn't known for.
Yeah. This is the first one I was glad the kids were in the room. Well, not like...
Yes.
Yeah. So I would have been quite...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do we go... then basically, how does he find her then at this point?
He runs around shouting for her.
Oh, yes. And he runs up to a pub that looks a bit like the Ten Bells, doesn't he? And he's like, where is she? Where's Anna? And they're like, oh, hello, Ducky.
Yeah, we see Gary Sparrow's
I'll do a good time. Yeah, and it's the amazingly named The Crown and Trumpet. And then also he gets some information from, hooray, a Victorian tramp. It's our tramp watch. So yeah, there is a Victorian tramp, and he says, "Oh, I think she's gone over there."
The Long Liz's
sort of
house. Yeah,
to Long Liz's house, and then the bit that I said, "Oh, please don't mention this, Ross." Is there's a bit when, and we must also say why we keep saying Nurse Gladys Emanuel, because the actress Linda Barron who's playing this character is for our generation most famously known for playing the character Nurse Gladys Emanuel, who's the object of the comic actor Ronnie Barker's affections in the popular 1980s sitcom Open All Hours.
Yeah.
Where he is mesmerized by her extremely, as my dad would say, healthy chest. That's the thing. And then to that point, there is a scene where Linda Barron, where Linda Barron is examining Anna, and looks at her chest. And says, "Oh, don't worry, darling. They'll get bigger over time." I thought, Ross, please. I thought, please, Ross, is what I put. Please don't talk about this bit. So well done, well done. We've got through that. So and then once again, she gets dressed up. The hypnotist, sparkly light, kiss, stab through the eye, and then Nurse Gladys Emanuel starts wandering the street with the dress pins through her hand into her eye. And she drops dead in front of the doctor.
Yeah. And everyone goes, quick, get the burning torches.
Quick, get the burning torches back out. Yay.
And he's still not convinced to go to the cops or...
no, he bustles her into like a Hansom cab. Almost gets caught by the angry mob. But they realise that he was there when Long Liz was found, so therefore he can get away.
Yes. And then we go into the wedding rehearsal then, don't we? Which is quite a strange sequence where Anna's just back with the family and it's obvious this guy is just like, oh, whatever, she can kill who she likes as long as I can do my research, which I'm not doing because she keeps escaping. And then they have a kind of odd little conversation, don't they, where he looks like he's going to kiss her and then he doesn't kiss her.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's all very creepy. I've got to say, this is one of the Hammers that hasn't aged well in lots of modern contexts, isn't it? And then we get to see Supergran.
Yeah. Oh no!
No,
is it Supergran?
No, it's McWitch from Rent-A-Ghost.
I thought it was Supergran.
Yeah, McWitch.
McWitch from Rent-A-Ghost.
Rent-A-Ghost
is the maid for a second clairvoyant, which we go to visit.
Yes,
but the difference
is the clairvoyant to
the Queen,
the dead Queen Victoria.
Queen by this point. But yeah, so it's quite remarkable. And what I put is, so all the way through, the pitch of this movie has been, psychology will solve this problem. This newfangled Dr. Freud. And then what actually solves the problem for them is a psychic.
Yeah.
So having debunked it all at the start.
I said science versus possession. Like that.
Yeah.
I think what they try and do is make up this central... torment is like science versus possession, but then basically this woman just deciphers it all, doesn't she, by being a medium?
She does,
which kind of lets it down slightly. But then she also gets stabbed, but I'm not really sure how she gets stabbed or what with at that point.
A magic dagger which appears from nowhere,
appears from somewhere.
But that was quite shocking for me. Yeah, it was good. I like that one.
However, what we do have to point out is... You
were surprised by that, Cliff, were you?
Yeah.
There was one pretty good thing that I thought, that's quite good. Well done. That's like that. Is that so the psychic then basically fills in the plot, what we already know, gives the doctor, here is the deal. This is the daughter of Jack the Ripper, who used to live on Berwick Street, which is obviously like one of the more well-to-do parts of London.
But there was a point when they said, like, who was the Ripper? I can't tell you.
That's it, Ross. That was the good bit.
Because we don't know.
She is horrified.
Yeah.
She says, and her father was, no! And she is like, she can't possibly say who it is. It's
notorious
too much for her to say.
Sufferer.
Well, whatever. But I still thought, and my notes were, I thought that's a good way round the classic "Who was Jack the Ripper?" Thing by saying that she knows, but I just can't tell you, and then she's dead before she can reveal. That's quite good.
Yeah, but I think the reason she got really weirded out is because the vision of Jack the Ripper being run down by a bus in the 1990s just completely blew her mind that she was having a vision of something was just going to happen in the future. They had to shoehorn some way of this woman kissing the Ripper daughter in order to trigger the death blow. But it was quite a nice reveal because she just wasn't moving until the doctor touched her and then she moved away.
No, I thought that worked really well. I wasn't surprised because I've seen the film before, but I think it worked really well, yes.
So how do we get back to the doctor's house so he can be stabbed by a convenient sword?
Or a sword in the water. Well, what he says is, he then is convinced that what has happened is that somehow the trauma is has imposed itself on her subconscious mind, and as my note says, it's time for some science, and he's going to science it out of her basically, and say, make her kind of either make her confront her past or make her exercise her past trauma.
Or once he's left a dead woman in her house.
In her house for
with Mick, who saw you coming in and then leaving. Yeah,
that part is totally forgotten within minutes. which is brilliant.
There's a thing where there's some sort of lecture about the savage, isn't there? Like, man has always killed people.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, well done. You needed a doctorate for that.
But this is to the MP guy, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And the MP is like. Yeah, and the MP is like, I knew it was her, and I think that I'm going to go and tell the peelers that it's her. And he's like, no, man, no.
I frequent prostitutes, but this is possibly even worse than that.
Yeah.
I rape underage women, but this is
worse. This is far worse. And it goes without saying that his attempts to try and solve the psychic fissure that's has stricken Anna does not work. No. She's triggered yet again, and she stabs him, as Ross says, with one of the many ceremonial decorative swords that are all over the house.
All Victorians had.
All yeah. But the weird thing is like where she stabs him. Like most horror films you ever see, it's a stab to the torso.
It's through the love handle.
Stab to the neck. It's a stab through his hip.
Yeah.
Right, so it's like, given the length of the sword,
it would have gone right through him to the other side.
Yeah, to the other side, but it's not. He's just going, oh, ow, ouch.
Ow. There was a good bit though where he had to hook the sword on the door handle.
Yes,
and pull it out of him. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, that's right. And then their original kind of home help maid, the more elderly maid, turns up, and I would rather die than ask a woman for help. For some reason, he won't say, fuck's sake, get in here and help me. I'm dying.
Yes.
He's like,
that's amazing.
Quite all right.
She's my favourite character in the film. I really like her because she's just like, I could have had the whole film from her point of view, to be honest, because she's just like a busybody, isn't she? She's excellent. You see a lot of her teeth. For some reason, like, I don't know, you see in her mouth somehow, the way she talks is like, which is really strange. So then, what has happened in the meantime is that the young lovers
the son
buggered off
returned.
To his city officers, but they needed a chaperone. So Anna has gone with them in her trance that has been,
which they haven't noticed.
Yeah.
Which no one seems to notice in this film when this woman doesn't speak. If I was sat with someone who didn't speak for a few minutes, I'd be like, are you okay? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to keep talking to you while you're silent.
Yeah, wouldn't kiss him, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, you're so pretty. I'm just going to kiss you a minute. It's just so weird. It's such an odd film. And then they go to the very dirty St. Paul's, don't they? Which is pre... Charles and Diana. It hasn't been cleaned yet, so it looks quite Victorian.
And we had a crash zoom into Big Ben, Big Ben earlier for no real reason.
With some fantastic, because it says 3:00 on it, and I'm like thinking, is 3:00 going to be any kind of
Have you
important.
Have you seen Big Ben in real life since it's all been cleaned up and it's
it looks weird now.
Yeah, all blue and everything.
It looks a bit HD now, doesn't it? I preferred it when it was just covered in pigeon shit. But I think the bit of Big Ben was library footage for some reason as well. I don't know why it was put in, because it says 3:00 and you're like, what's happening at 3:00?
Well, so the Americans can get excited about seeing Big Ben.
Yeah. Hey, gee, look at that. The Elizabeth Tower. Oh, no, that's not Elizabeth. Or is that the Elizabeth Tower?
Well, it wasn't called the Elizabeth Tower at that point. It was. I think it was named that for one of her...
what's the other one called? Because I've been in the entrance under there.
I don't know.
I can't think what that's called now.
We need to go and do a trip to the Churchill rooms underneath there.
The war rooms.
Yeah, I think you going with you two would add a little experience. Yeah, add a little extra to that.
Do they have smells there? Does it smell like the war? Because the best thing about Eden Camp, my favourite museum, is that there's smells in different rooms, or they used to be 25 years ago.
I think you should start wearing siren suits, Joe.
Start wearing what?
Siren suits. Those purple onesies that Churchill used to wear.
They're very comfortable, I'm sure.
Yeah, for some reason, our
Luke Evans,
soon-to-be betrothed couple have gone to the Whispering Gallery.
No, they haven't. Just the two women have.
Oh, okay. Why have they gone there?
Just for a look around. Because I think she said she's
it's not explained, but
something to do.
Yeah,
as triplets.
It's London.
Yeah. So she's going to show the Whispering Gallery up in St Paul's, and which then this is, as we said, they weren't allowed to film in there, so they got quite a bad sort of like painting, which they've got kind of superimposed in front of.
Who's that over?
Yes.
Yeah. But she wants to have the. She wants to do the thing where one person sits on one side of the gallery and Anna will sit on the other side, and she could whisper to her and it will go around.
Yeah.
But this triggers the voice of the Ripper for some reason.
I also put down, what was she going to whisper? I'm not really blind. I'm just putting it all on for a laugh. But Ross is absolutely correct. This is what triggers the Ripper. And once again, we another mention this evening of Carl Jung and archetypes. This for me was very, very similar to Frank Herbert, the author of Dune. He's a big fan of Carl Jung. And
so the lesser of the two Herbert novelists. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, James yes, yeah. Sorry. It's a weeknight. My brain was a little slow there. So Frank Herbert was a big advocate of Jung and the collective unconscious, and that's the theory that he really starts to expand on in the later Dune novels. The Bene Gesserit and anyone with suitable psychic training, you can not only it's not only the archetypes, you can actually go and talk to your ancestors.
Ooh.
And you can, and that's what happens, and they can then take you over, and that's spoilers. Yeah,
don't fancy that.
That's exactly right, and that's pretty much what happens here. Is that the Ripper then returns and then says to her, "You've always been my daughter." And it's like, she's like, "Is this a dream?" And he's like, "I don't know." And I thought that bit was actually quite good when he said, "I couldn't tell the difference between dream and reality."
Yeah,
that's a momentarily quite good bit there. Well done.
I think from here on in, when the kind of operatic music is playing, this film becomes pure cinema, and it's one of the greatest moments of Hammer films. Up to this point, it's subpar.
I would say the titles at the beginning were brilliant, and this bit at the end was brilliant.
Yeah. This bit is brilliant, and it's really well choreographed. It's really well shot. And then basically she's like, "Help me, Dr. John," and then Dr. John runs into the floor.
What? He doesn't run in. He's absolutely knackered.
Not run. He's stumbling, and he's like,
he stumbles in.
"I've been stabbed through the guts." He doesn't. But
it's a great return for our occasional category and award. You look like you've had a night out in the West End with Liam Gallagher in 1996 awards. He literally stumbles out of the carriage and then comes in, and then he's like, his son turns up And he's like, son, you're going to have to go up. Basically, I put, you're going to have to go, son. I'm fucked. Which is what he is, basically. And he's like, you go and stop her.
That's basically me when I do anything now. It's like, hell, you go. I don't want to go for if I shit myself on the way up, basically. It's like when we went to Glastonbury.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
You two climbing that fucking mountain up to that stupid church thing. And I'm like, you two can go, but, I might need the toilet halfway up. So carry on.
All right. So then it gets to the climax of the film. She then, Anna then starts to begin to strangle the blind wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fortunately, the son arrives in time to wrestle her away from Anna. And then at which point, like, the realization of what she's been doing really kind of comes over Anna.
Yeah.
And the Ripper is like, keep killing people. And then she looks down from the Whispering Gallery. And this is the bit that John was saying, it looks pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Down at the...
and then a dummy. And then a dummy is chucked over.
Right, yeah.
I don't
down
think
at the floor of the church.
A miniature.
I thought it looked like a Barbie.
Yeah.
I thought it looked like a Barbie doll.
It looks like a miniature to me. Yeah.
I think when you're looking up, it looks like an actual stunt woman lady. And then when you're looking down to where Eric Porter is, it might be a dummy at that point, but I don't think it.
It reminded me of when the woman is chucked off the balcony in the Omen. So it was done in a kind of a weird kind of. Well, however they did it, it's quite dreamy, isn't it? It's quite dreamy.
Yes,
it doesn't look bad.
Like slow mo.
Yeah,
it's way better than any James Bond film where countless people fall. My favourite death by falling in a Bond film is the man when
we've all got one.
Mayday.
Yeah.
Well, when they're in the airship, but you don't know they're in the airship, and Mayday takes a guy to some stairs, and then it turns into a slope, and then the reveal is him falling out. Falling out of the Zorin Industries airship, which
James, can you name my favourite cinematic? Someone being thrown out of something.
No, I was just going to say my favourite thing from Bonds. What your one, Ross, or mine?
Well,
go on.
What one? If we were going to talk about people being thrown off something, which one would we mention to see? This is how you'd identify if I was a double. Come on, James. Which one? Come on.
Well,
right.
My heart really goes to the one that I'd probably mention because is the end of RoboCop.
Yes, I'll get you, RoboCop.
I'll get you, RoboCop, which is what we always used to say. I'll get you, RoboCop, and he's got ridiculously long arms when you watch it now. Like comically oversized. Yes, that's a good one, Ross. That's great. I was just going to say that with Bond, I always think miniature helicopters. Whenever they have a helicopter crashing into anything, it's always like a little miniature one, isn't it?
When the flames look really big and stupid. Don't they?
Come on, guys. What film have we covered which has a helicopter explosion from a Bond film in it?
No, it wasn't film. It was Doctor Who.
Well, yeah, it was Doctor Who, wasn't it? Yeah.
The Demons.
It was Doctor
Who. Demons, yeah.
Yes.
Well done.
You.
So if anything...
First and only time I'll get
it's all we need. Dance into the fire.
You are responsible for the death of John Barry. Right, that was once again. This might be a bit at the end. One of the best documentaries ever, and it's one of the things, dear listener, that when I first met John, we bonded over. Pardon the pun.
I remember this.
Right, okay, so I turned up at Howard Gardens for the first time, getting to meet you all, and you guys had a CD on of the best Bond themes.
Yes.
And then we were talking about the best Bond themes, and I said, there's been this thing on, because GoldenEye had just come, GoldenEye, Bond was back, and Channel 4,
That's mad.
I think it was
Only
Channel
the
4,
year before, James.
there'd been a thing, and once again, if I look on YouTube, it's probably there now, but it's like, oh my God, it was only ever on once. They did a really fantastic documentary where they took you through every Bond theme and interspersed this with David Holmes composing and putting together the music for GoldenEye.
Oh, nice.
And it was really good. And that's my favourite stories is that's the one where they say that when Tom Jones does, and so he strikes, like and then he went so hard, and he was ill at the time that he fainted. He faints on that last one, and that's the take that they use.
Yes.
So whenever you see it on TV, I always do a little mime with Tom Jones
born on this very
fainting.
street, James.
Where you go, it's all time.
On your street?
I know that.
I didn't know he's born on your street. No, I didn't know that.
He's born on this very street.
Is there a plaque?
There is, yeah.
Wow.
I'll find the photo for you now. Did you two?
Is that in the
watch
south of Wales?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But you obviously didn't. But James, did you watch Graham Norton the other night?
No, sorry.
We always watch Graham Norton on a Saturday, on the Friday, and they had who was it on? Elton John and Robert De Niro.
But didn't De Niro just turn up at the end or something? He wasn't going to sanction this nonsense.
It's quite a weird vibe. But basically, Elton John is telling this story about how when he first met David Furnish, he organised a dinner party, and the people he invited for David Furnish, who we'd only been with for 3 weeks, were George Michael, the biggest star in the world at this point. We're talking like 94, 95. Robert De Niro and John Barry and his wife. And
wow.
Robert De Niro's like, yeah, I remember. It was like 30 years ago. And it's like
nothing interesting to add to it. Yeah.
And being like George Michael, John Barry, Robert De Niro, and Elton John, who's your boyfriend. It's absolutely hilarious. Right, hang on. I'm just Googling Tom Jones.
And while John's doing that, they were then also told you the amazing thing of they did, as John and I have just been singing, A View to a Kill from A View to a Kill by Duran Duran. And Simon Le Bon said, it was brilliant. It was the height of Duran Duran's popularity. They're the biggest band in the world at this point. And so they were living an utter champagne lifestyle. Total champagne lifestyle. Hey, look at that.
So that's the photo. Where it says Alamy, that's Tom Jones coming out of the house up the road.
Brilliant.
And it says on it, it's mad, isn't it? I'll try and find a better one. Carry on, James.
Okay, so he said that what you did back then was that you met up with John Barry, and they said that that in a couple of years afterwards he wasn't very impressed with Aha, and Aha had annoyed him or something like that.
Yes,
but
that's
he
true,
really immediately got on with Simon Le Bon, and Simon Le Bon said, "Look, before we even sit down and start talking about doing any recording, let's go out and have a few drinks. Let's go out." And he said that John Barry was not used to the level of rock and rollness that Duran Duran, and he just said, we were just ordering bottles of champagne. We're just get them down, you. And Le Bon said, by 2:00 in the afternoon, he was utterly paralytic. And they said, look, we're not going to get anything done. We're not going to get anything done. And Simon Le Bon said, look, don't worry. Come back to my flat. He obviously had a flat in Mayfair or Chelsea or something like that. And basically just sleep it off. And he fell asleep. And John Barry, of course, because this was the mid-'80s, they hadn't returned home. John Barry's wife was ringing round, trying to find him, and said to Simon Le Bon, "Where is he?" And Simon Le Bon said, I'm not sure, not wanting to get him in too much into trouble." Yes. And apparently John Barry's wife went, "If he's dead, you will have the death of John Barry on your hands." Wonderful. I love
she
that
thought
story.
he was out with Elton John again. So here we are,
there you go. Yeah. Look at
Tom Jones
that.
is born here.
Wow.
You need to take his picture in front of that, John.
I've tried to contact him for about a year for a project with Age Cymru. It's really annoying. I don't know anyone that can put me in touch with him. Which is
you got to get hold of his son, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I've tried with his son, but he never replies to emails. Yeah. So there he is on the old bridge in Pontypridd.
Wow.
With a pint. So
Which he bought from the Anne Harrod Rees pub, I imagine.
Have we got to the end of the film yet? I can't remember.
Pretty much.
Oh, we have. Pretty much. So she's fallen.
And lands on him.
And then
on the doctor.
It's the end, isn't it?
The end.
Yeah.
It's the end.
And my note says, as I messaged to you both last night, the moral of this story is, don't kiss women without permission.
No, exactly.
There you go.
Right, I understand what that means now,
Thank
James.
you. And if only Harvey Weinstein had watched this during his formative years, we all could have saved it. A lot of people's trauma could have been saved.
So what do we think, gentlemen?
I'm going to give it a 3 because I really enjoyed the beginning and the end.
Interesting. Interesting.
I felt that it was good. It was an interesting because when I thought we was doing Hands of the Ripper, I had no idea it wasn't the Ripper story. And when you went, maybe, I think it's a good twist and original story for Hammer, which is great.
Yes.
But the music for me it spoiled it, because I think that with different music, it wouldn't.
I quite like the music.
Yeah. But yeah, I've given it a 3. 3.
Interesting.
3.
James, what did you think?
As I said right at the outset, the influence that I think, this got here first, and I think it then did go on to engender some probably more interesting takes on this genre, and I really love that whole notion, and I would have loved to have seen now if someone does a whole, science versus mediums. I remember there was something on ITV, wasn't there, with
the Michael Jackson seance?
No, don't. Or I was thinking of Colin West. I think was in this thing that was once again set in the Victorian era, but he's scientific, or is there actually a ghost and psychiatry? But I would really love to see if someone did a psychiatry / kind of psychiatry versus mediumship in
it's
that
another
time
one
story
right for
again.
a remake, isn't it?
Basically? 100%. So because of that, it gets a 2 from me. So I enjoyed it, but I did also think it was it did need some more modern editing. It was quite dragged out at points, and as Ross says,
such a short
it didn't
film,
need the kiss.
It's quite slow, isn't it?
Yeah, some good kills. Some good kills.
Good kills, but I didn't hate watching it.
Yeah.
But and it had some really interesting. I didn't hate it. Whereas I resented Nicholas.
Yeah, I didn't hate watching it.
Unlike sort of like the Nicholas Lyndhurst contributions and things such as that. So for me, so that was a 2 out of 5. And then John, what did you think?
I'm quite. I don't know really. I think it was worse than I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the ending, like I said, is such pure cinema that kind of elevates the rest of it.
I can't imagine it's great for a rewatch. But for me, coming into it not expecting this. I'm glad I came into it not knowing what it was going to be.
Exactly. I probably haven't seen it for 20 years, I don't think. I bought it on DVD donkey's years.
Does that make you feel depressed that you bought something as an adult and then you can not watch it for 20 years?
Yeah. I'd probably give it a 3 as an aggregate score, but I'd probably give the ending like a 4 or a 5 because I thought the ending was brilliant.
Yeah.
Where he's like, "Come to me, Anna, come to me," and then it's all slow-mo and stuff. I thought that was really effective, whereas other parts of it were just like in the gutter, really.
Yeah. There's so much stuff in it which is now like such a cliche, you would never do it. So you would never have Jack the Ripper running around with a top hat and a cape.
No.
You would never have sex workers like doing all right, dearie stuff.
Unless you did it in quite a camp.
Well, unless you did it with scripted by Spike Milligan and played by Ronnie Corbett and Ronnie Barker,
etc.
Yeah.
I think you could do it in quite a camp way or a kind of sci-fi weird way. I don't think you could do it. I mean, I think the problem with this film is that it does play it quite straight, doesn't it? And it doesn't have the comedy parts that lots of Hammers have. Like even the original Dracula has got comedy bits.
Well, you got Linda Barron like squeezing someone's boobies.
I don't know.
Ross.
I don't know if that's meant as comedy though, is it really? It's just, it becomes comedy now because you're watching it thinking, you just feel uncomfortable for the professional people involved.
Exactly.
That the actresses, you feel uncomfortable for them. And for the men that kind of wrote and directed this stuff, you think,
what the fuck are you doing? Yeah,
basically. Whereas the ending is so kind of elevated from that. You're just like, this is mad. It's like it's from a different film. Because I think it's like a black and white 40s film with modern parts added, as in modern for the 70s. And I think if you view it through that prism, it's actually quite a good
It didn't feel early 70s to me, though. I would have said late 70s if someone asked me when this was made.
Yeah. There's parts of it that are really good. I just think Peter Sasdy is quite an underrated director. And I think Taste of Blood of Dracula is great. I think Countess Dracula looks incredibly lavish on a very minimal budget, and obviously the sound tape is brilliant. So yeah, it's quite a hard one to score, but I'd say like a 3, but the ending a 5. Yeah, what's next time, please?
So next time we're going to be doing The Creeping Flesh with Peter Cushing.
Who else is in
Fair
it,
enough.
please? I think we should say Sir Peter Cushing.
Was he ever Sir?
No, but we should bestow that on him because I think he was a tremendous fellow. And I would like to have made his little model villages and stuff with him in Wanstead or wherever it was that he lived.
Directed by Freddie Francis.
Yeah, nice.
So it's Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and Laura Hilleborn.
Yeah.
Hilleborn?
No, yeah.
There's a reason I picked it, and I can't remember what it is. Is it a...
Tygon.
It's a Tygon film, yes.
Tygon British. We haven't done a Tygon
No,
before.
so next time we're doing the Tygon British film, The Creeping Flesh, with Sir
Peter Cushing.
Lord
Sir Christopher Lee.
Lord Christopher Lee.
Recently knighted.
Count Christopher Lee.
Of course.
I don't know much about The Creeping Flesh and I haven't seen it, so I'm excited to do one that I haven't previously watched in the fusty, cobwebbed realms of my youth.
Okay, until next time, happy day, everyone.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Peace.
Take care.
Love, light, and peace, everyone.
You have been listening to The General Witchfinders. Support the show and continue the conversation at patreon.com/General Witchfinders. Subscribe and spread the word at generalwitchfinders.com. Farewell, and don't have nightmares.
There's a man walks the streets of London late at night.
I was just laughing, thinking of you.
Yes, mate.
5 Live commentary.
Yeah.
Sympathetic applause as Jack Grealish walks from the pitch.
Yeah, John, if I go like this, I don't know if you can sit here.
Oh, there we are. Jolly good.
So
What's
I
the
can,
score?
I can
I
keep
don't
you
know what the
posted.
score is.
It's 1-0 to Manchester City.
Oh, for fuck's
Haaland. Yeah, I know, but it's very close. It won't stay that score at all. At all. Madrid were doing quite well, and and Manchester City scored with literally like their only shot on goal. So, and bearing in mind, there's another leg of it. Remember, it's a 2-leg game.
Yes. Well, they've all got 2 legs, haven't they? Most of them.
Yeah.
It was a joke based on football.
I know. I got it. Sorry. It's been a long half term.
I did watch a one-legged Sherlock Holmes story the last few months, though, which was very good. John Thor as a one-legged man.
Okay.
Ooh.
The sign of 4 is with a kind of dwarf assassin.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't know how to describe, really. A bit like that, but kind of...
I was surprised it wasn't called The Mystery of the One-Legged Man. That's
dwarf assassin.
Yeah.
Conan Doyle.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to describe or even Google what the other person looked like. But he ended up being the murderer, I think.
Spoilers.
It was quite hard to follow. Let's.
So John Thor was the one-legged man, was he?
Yes, and he wanted vengeance for. Hang on, here.
How did they do that? Was he just limping? Or
you can't really see.
Wow.
Add that to the tramps in your article, James.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, hang on, I can't zoom out now. That's annoying.
Courtesy of Stuart Lee, that article.
There we are. Look, there's John Thor.
Oh,
I did wonder how John Thor, basically carried on with it because he has to do it through the whole thing. It looks really quite hard work for him. Here we are. This is good. You're gonna like this. This is very General Witchfinders.
Oh yes, I like that.
Yeah, but I don't know why he's got green skin.
Maybe he's from like deepest, darkest Peru or something.
Well, yeah, no, he is. But the other person that's...
Yes, I think I know this one. Did they use a blow dart to kill... Yeah.
Yes, here he is again. But the other person that's in it is the guy from Indiana Jones and the The first one. What's that?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The guy with the thing on his palm.
Oh, totes.
Yeah.
Ronald Lacey.
Ronald.
No.
Ronald Lacey is the son of one of the baddies. And I don't know. He looks insane. He basically, for about 20 minutes, just plays a corpse.
Yeah.
Because there's this whole scene in this study, and they're trying to work out how he's died in the study because it's locked from the inside. It's very Sherlock Holmes. But he just has to sit there and look dead.
Who was Holmes in it?
It's Jeremy Brett. It's one of the ITV ones.
Oh, I'm sure I've seen that one with him in, and none of that looks familiar.
It's brilliant. Here he is. Look, here he is playing the corpse.
Oh, yes,
whoa! Look at that! Look at
John. If you shaved, I reckon that.
Well, shaved my entire head and my entire face. It was really, really
He
good.
looked like
It's a
he'd
lot
be
of
an
fun.
expert on Antiques Roadshow.
Yes.
Or
Very
Time
much so.
Team.
Yeah.
Here he is. But I don't know why his hands had to stay like that. His hands are like...
It's interesting choices.
Yeah, so Jeremy Brett's
it's probably trying to
constantly...
match an illustration from The Strand, I imagine.
Yes, maybe.
They like doing that at the ad breaks, didn't they?
Yeah. Jeremy Brett had to walk past him about 5 times, and he's like... And you can see him slightly move, but I thought it was really well done, actually. It must have cost a fortune. It's like a feature film.
Yeah.
And then I looked, and it's like episode 6 of like 10.
Yeah.
And they all must have cost like loads and loads and loads of money.
Yeah, I think Baker Street was a standing set, wasn't it? And I think they reused it.
I would have thought so, yeah.
The Baker Street Irregulars series they did, remember?
And all I can think is it must have been one of those shows that they sold abroad. And sold abroad
100%.
and was very popular.
Yeah.
So they must have known that, like, oh, well, we know that we'll be able to sell this for X. So
yes, Jeremy Brett is incredible in it. He's just so good.
Well, he comes up later on in our script today.
Oh.
Does he?
Yeah.
Why?
Wait and see.
Because his heart had swelled to twice its natural size, and that's how he died.
I thought he died of a broken heart. Wasn't it?
No, I died of a grossly swollen heart.
So that's actually what would have happened to the Grinch if his heart did grow 3 sizes too big that day.
Yes, his chest would have exploded. I looked it up recently how he died. I can't remember why. Probably for this podcast.
Yeah.
And he had a grossly swollen heart. Anyway, on that bombshell.
Right.
Quite literally for Jeremy Brett.
Yeah.
Literally. Right. Okay. So hang on. Let me get the script ready. And
Goblins and ghouls.
You know it.
Creeps and perverts.
Hang on, I need you to double check the number because
yeah. It says 54.
Have you?
Oh no,
have
55.
you
it should be 55.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
get with it. Have you plugged in your laptop, please?
Yes. God, that's so much. That's the most
stress
fear I've had in my entire life.
In your whole life,
well, for a while at least.
You've had a very sheltered life.
And you've been to the serial killer exhibition.
Yeah,
so come on.
I did fall asleep listening to a documentary about Marcus Sasard the other night, and that's some very frightening dreams.
Why do you do this stuff to yourself?
So I couldn't sleep. I wake up.
Why don't you watch something about antiques or something nice then?
No, I just listen to just listen to people describing
100 Days of Sodom.
Yeah.
That's
that
the
what
one.
it is?
Yeah, Mark Harris. Come and watch this with me.
Oh, is that what happened?
Harlow, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Should we do it, guys?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Here we go.
Talking about Big Ben, I've got a memory of Big Ben turning into a giant crocodile in a Charles Scarfe illustration. What's that from?
Well, that was, what Laura Koonsberg now is on BBC One. It was the BBC's Sunday morning political programme.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Ross.
Or was it called On the Record, maybe, James?
On the Record, possibly. Let me see if I can find it.
Piano driven. It was on a Sunday.
Right, okay. Yeah. Because when you was talking about that, I had that vision in my mind.
And the close-up was a blinking eye, and then the title of the programme was In the Eye.
100% correct.
Oh, it's 3D. Look at that. Oh, that's. So I wouldn't have said it was 3D in my mind.
I would have said that was about 1990, 91 it started.
What?
Yeah. Look at that.
Bang.
My parents would have watched any of that in our house. They would have been turned off if that was.
Right, I'll send that to you now, Ross, so you can...
Yeah, definitely.
And
I'd
also,
say 1990, 91. That's when programs had budgets. Imagine how much that cost for a politics program on Sunday at like 1 o'clock.
I was watching sort of videos on YouTube at Christmas of some department in the BBC where sort of like the Christmas idents were like 3D models, which they would have made out of perspex and like have rotating on like a turntable with like reflective surfaces and stuff.
Yeah. Nothing has any money now, and it's shit.
It's because you're the only person who watches live television anymore, John.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Just shout at
everyone.
Watch
everything.
Why are you watching television?
And the Alienist was on Netflix.
There we go.
But yeah, anyway, I've just sent you the trailer for it if you want to see what it looked like.
Thank you.
Just see the vibe of Victoriana serial killer murdering, solving through psychiatry. In any way, shape, or form. 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 In any way, shape, or form.
They're back.
Come on in and register.
Jones. Hightower. Hooks.
Back off, you turkey!
Callahan.
I left.
House.
Why, this old baby, it doesn't even break, it pulverizes.
Tackleberry. Proctor. Harris. And Commandant Lazard. Their assignments? Miami Beach. And they're beside themselves with excitement.
Get ready for Eric Lazard.
This time, instead of making arrests, they're going to take one.
He's thinking.
But when ruthless criminals kidnap Lazard, his loyal force put their vacation on hold and become bent on revenge. Once they spring into action, man for man, tan for tan.
Hello, Dork.
They're the hottest force on the surf and sand, and they'll do whatever it takes, no matter how much it hurts.
Sir, help!
Police Academy 5.
Leave the swimming area now, mister.
It's the best in fun and guns under the sun.